Hello there, and welcome to episode 2 of Reptum Reads with me, Mr. Jobber. Last week we started our new book, Evernight, by Ross Mackenzie. If you haven't read chapter 1, I will go back now and listen to it, as there are spoilers ahead. You have been warned. In chapter 1, named Shadow Jack, we met two characters, Shadow Jack himself, who is a man made of midnight. He can turn himself into a crow and do all other kinds of weird things. And we also met a girl called Jenny Winter, who seemed like a witch, I want to say. To very briefly summarise what went on, it seems as if Shadow Jack himself were hunting Jenny Winter. When he finally got hold of her, he revealed he had a collection of teardrop pendants, one of which Jenny had as well. It seems as if Shadow Jack is hunting for something called a doomsday spell, which Jenny Winter was in possession of. We get the hint that if Shadow Jack gets control of this doomsday spell, he will do something terrible, although we do not yet know what it is. But after much fighting, just before Shadow Jack got hold of the doomsday spell, Jenny Winter tossed it into the raging waters of the sewer. And just before the end of the chapter, Shadow Jack opened a wide mouth, his bones clicking, revealing sharp lines of teeth, and Jenny screamed. Whoa, tense and full of action. What a first chapter. Before we get on with chapter 2, as promised, I would like to share some predictions that you have sent in. Unfortunately, I will not be able to read out all of the predictions as I've received so many, but I will move on to some more next week. Seb believes that the man with no shadow is actually going to help out Jenny Winter to defeat the bad Shadow Man. Amelie sent in loads of predictions, so I'm just going to read one or two out, otherwise we'll be here all day. That Evernight may be a curse, that maybe Larabelle finds some treasure and the box is that treasure, and that whatever is inside it could stop the Evernight. Maybe that is the box that we found in the sewer. Oh, my favourite, that Evernight is actually a person, not a curse. All very intriguing predictions there. Other honourable mentions and shout-outs go to Savannah, Evie, Luca, Will, Evan and Jamie. We're glad you're really enjoying this and keep listening. Right, nothing left to do but to get to it then. Make sure you're in a comfortable spot. If you want some headphones, you got them in and the speakers are loud enough so that you can hear them. And we dive back into the world of Evernight. You are listening to Evernight by Ross Mackenzie. Chapter 2, Beneath the Streets. Larabelle Fox was sheltering in the tunnels beneath the city when she heard a commotion. She almost didn't notice it, such was the great cacophony of rain and wind and rushing water barreling through the darkened sewers. Rivers of rain had fed the stream, leaving many of the tunnels inaccessible. Fierce water rumbled past her feet, splashing her wax-coated boots, gurgling and foaming, carrying twigs and leaves and drowned rats and even cats. Laura's eyes were sharp and alert, and they flickered here and there and all about, watching the water as it passed through the golden light from the dragon breath lamp tied around her neck. Her muddled reflection stared back at her from the rough surface. 13 years old, brown-skinned and fiercely focused. She was hoping to glimpse shining things in the waters, coins or lost jewellery, but it was not a treasure that caught her attention now, no. It was the sound of an argument. Laura extinguished her lamp at once, and crushing darkness folded in on top of her. A newcomer to those tunnels would have been instantly lost, disorientated, panic-stricken, but not Lara. Lara breathed deep and stayed calm. She knew every twist and turn and dip of the sewers in the same easy, natural way a small child might know the rhythms of a nursery rhyme. Creeping forward, she followed the voices, the sound of her footsteps smothered by the stream. Around a bend she went to an intersection where several sewers met. Light spilled from the adjacent tunnel and Lara slowed. Crouching low against the smooth, cold brick, she peeked around the corner, tingling with curiosity. There were 5 of them. 5 boys, each dressed in Atosha's things, a wax-coated jacket, boots and gloves, with a dragon breath lamp hanging around his neck. 4 of the boys were large, almost men, but the fifth was younger and much smaller. 4 larger boys had formed a circle of sorts around the smaller one. Lara knew him very well indeed, for she had taught him the ways of toshing herself. His name was Joe Littlefoot, and he looked around at the others with fierce, frightened green eyes. "Wait, it's mine!" His hand hovered protectively on the toshing bag slung over his shoulder. "I found it stuffed fair and square. I'm not even on your patch."
"Well, we've decided to expand,"
said one of the older boys. His head was pale and shaved, his voice gravelly from all the pipes that he had smoked. Vin Cotton was his name, and Lara knew about him and his gang and was wary of coming across them.
"I reckon the tunnel running under Milk Street belongs to us now, which means the loot that you find here is ours."
He pointed to the bag.
"You can't just claim tunnels,"
cried Joe.
"And who's gonna stop us? You!"
Lara bristled at this, felt her hackles rise. Toshing was not a noble profession, perhaps, but there had always been a sense of honour to it, an unspoken respect between the folk who risked their lives finding lost things beneath the world. To be a tosher took guts and smarts and bravery, and Lara thought that Cotton had none of these things. He was a coward, a bully.
"Last chance,"
he said. Joe shook his head. "I need whatever I can get. My granny, she needs looking after." Cotton held up a finger to quiet him. Then he brought a knife out from his coat and pushed the point of the blade against Joe's throat. Not enough to draw blood, but certainly enough to frighten Joe out of his wits. Lara almost cried out.
"I don't give a hag's tongue about your granny. You need to learn a lesson in respect, sunshine."
He nodded to the others.
"Take everything he's got."
They closed in. Thinking quick, Lara reached into her own toshing bag and brought out a bent metal spoon she'd found in the tunnels earlier. She stood up, reared back, and threw the spoon as far down the sewer as she could manage. It hit the wall with a great clang, and Cotton and his gang spun around and held up the lamps. Who's there? Run, Joe, run! Lara stepped into the light and Joe's eyes grew wide. He broke into a sprint, his wax-coated boots splashing and sploshing through the sewer water towards her. Then they were running away, twisting and turning through the tunnels, the stinking air filled with the curses and threats from Cotton and his gang.
"Son of a hag! Get him! You're dead!"
"Put the light out," Lara told Joe. He did as she said, and soon they were running almost blind through the tunnels, guided by memory and instinct alone. "Nearest way out?" asked Joe. Lara tried to calm her breathing. Pictured the sewers in her mind. "Needle Street!" They tore along to a spot where the tunnel forked in two, and then they took the path to the left. Vin Cotton and his gang chasing, yelling, gaining. Still, they ran, gasping and panting, until something awfully wrong dawned in Lara's head, making her skid to a halt. "Why have you stopped?" "Shh. Do you notice something?" "Yeah, I've noticed we've stopped. Come on." Lara didn't budge. The air had changed. She tapped her foot on the tunnel floor. "The sewer stream. Where's it gone?" The rushing sewer water had become a mere trickle. "What does it matter? Come on!" No. Something's not right." Lara fumbled for the lamp around her neck, sparked it to life, and the honey-coloured light pushed back the darkness. Joe began to shout at her, but then he stopped and stood by Lara's side. The two of them stared up at the tunnel. A short distance ahead, the walls had collapsed inwards and the way was completely blocked by brick and debris. Back the way they had come, Cotton was sloshing up the sewer.
"Ah, there you are."
There was no way out.